Hey everyone, welcome back to another new moon video. This month we'll be talking about the new moon in Capricorn. I'm Lori Barnes. I'm an astrology coach and I make these videos to help you work with the moon phases, seasonal cycles, retrograde cycles, and hopefully to help you improve your outcomes. And this month to improve your productivity, because we're going to be bringing in the Capricorn new moon in just a few days. I'm going to give you the details first. The Capricorn new moon takes place on Friday, December 23rd. And in the US, it'll be very early in the morning, 2:17 a.m. if you're on the West Coast, 5:17 a.m. if you're on the East Coast. And if you're in Rome, Italy, where I'm usually based out of, but over the holidays I'll be traveling, it's at 10:53 a.m. in the morning. This new moon is, I think, a very productive new moon, and I'm really excited for it because last year we were going through Mercury retrograde, and this year we're moving into a Mercury retrograde, but it's happening later in December. So we have the last half of December leading up and into the holidays to actually work with some retrograde energy and be productive about working with that energy, and also to help us prepare for the new year. The new moon is in Capricorn, and that is not the only Capricorn energy. We have quite a few planets in Capricorn at the new moon. We have Mercury and Venus and Pluto all hanging out in the sign of Capricorn. So it's a very earth element based new moon. It's feet on the ground. There's a strategic vibe to this new moon. And also the planet Saturn, which is, well, Capricorn is a Saturn sign. Saturn is in the sign of Aquarius, and it's in its own sign, and that makes Saturn more productive and not exhibiting as much of its more challenging types of energy, like the rigidity that can sometimes come along with Capricorn. So we have a lot of earth element energy happening, and also action-oriented energy, which is happening at the same time as the Mars retrograde, as you probably already know. And as I mentioned before, we're moving into a Mercury retrograde. So we have this really unique energy this month, and I'm excited about it because it comes also at the time of the solstice and at the time of the end of the year. If you work with the calendar year for your goals, then this is already something that you're probably working on. Maybe you've already started writing up your goals. Maybe you've already started looking at the goals that you had for 2022 and evaluating how well you've done. And that's a really great way to work with this new moon. Remember that new moons represent the beginning of a cycle. And we know that the moon doesn't actually stop and start, but in astrology, we do have a cycle that begins with the new moon and goes all the way through the full moon is in the middle, and then it goes to the end of the cycle and starts a whole new cycle. This month, we are starting the new moon cycle in Capricorn, just a couple of days after the solstice happens, and then the Mars retrograde is continuing and Mercury retrograde is beginning. So I'm going to look at all of these different energies and how they blend together and how you can use them to improve your outcomes. First, let's talk about the degree, which I don't usually talk about the degree of the moon, but I did want to mention that this new moon is 1 degree Capricorn. It's the very beginning of the sign. So there's a youthfulness to this new moon. And there's irony there because Capricorn is more of the distinguished, wise, sage kind of person. You can think of it also as the CEO of a company. So not a young person beginning on their career, but somebody who has climbed the mountain and has had quite a bit of success behind them. You can think of that as a Capricorn kind of energy. And with the degree being at 1 degree, there's like a beginning. It's a new moon and it's at the very beginning of the sign, if that makes sense. So I did want to mention that because I like that. I think that it's interesting how all of this is coming together this year with the solstice as well. I mentioned that there are a few other planets in Capricorn, so it's really making this Capricorn energy very prominent. It can help you put your feet on the ground. And that is not the only thing happening. We have also Venus and Mercury in Capricorn. And these two planets have interesting connections going on or relationships with other planets that I think really make this new moon even more productive than it would be. It would be productive even if it was just the Capricorn new moon. And when we throw in Venus and Mercury, it's like, oh, okay, there's a lot of planets making the Capricorn statement. And then when we look at Venus and Mercury and what they're doing in the sky, we have Venus making a connection with the planet Uranus, and it's a opportunistic or very smooth type of energy. It's this energy exchange that can indicate that there are some brilliant new insights coming. And you could say that it's about relationships because Venus is the relationship planet. If you know your chart, you can take it even deeper and look to see where Uranus and where Venus are in terms of the houses, the placement in your chart, and the topics, people, events that come with that house placement will give you more information on what it may look like for you in your life. But the connection between these two is a nice, flowing, supportive type of relationship, and it can indicate that it's a good time to tap into some insights, to be aware of what ideas are coming towards you or coming in. If you take some time and reflect and review, which I always recommend during a retrograde cycle, you may get some brilliant insight. Then we have Mercury also in Capricorn, and Mercury is making a connection with the planet Neptune. And this is also a flowing, helpful, supportive type of connection. With Mercury and Neptune connecting, that indicates that you can tap into your inspiration, your muses may be speaking to you more loudly than usual. You may be very creative, and your artistic side will be able to tap into that creativity. So there's inspiration, there's insight, there's productivity, there's groundedness. And of course, with the Mars retrograde, we have the slow down, review, reflect, realign energy going on as it relates to your motivation and your determination, your inner motivation, your inner determination, and also your physical activity, how you go about taking care of the things in life that need to be taken care of, how you go about getting things done, like how do you get her done? And Mercury is slowing down for its retrograde. So we have this reflective retrograde energy very prominent. We have the Capricorn grounded, productive, strategic energy going on. And then with Venus and Mercury, both in Capricorn, making relationships to Uranus and Neptune, Mercury to Neptune, Venus to Uranus, there's an ability to tap into creativity, insight, and we put all that together, and it's to me, it's perfect for the end of a year. It's a perfect time to work on your goals, to reflect back on your progress and look forward to what you want to manifest in 2023. I'd like to think of this energy as spiraling upward, because I really believe when we work with cycles and we go in a spiral rather than a direct line, we work more in tune with nature's rhythms. When we think that it's always forward, forward, up, up, better, better, we get tired, right? Or we get down on ourselves when things slow down, when we have to take a pause, or when something has to be re-looked at. We may think of it as a failure, or we did something wrong, when really it's important to do that. I love that we have Mercury retrogrades 3 times a year. It's naturally built into our programming, into our universal programming, as above, so below, to stop, reflect, to repair, to reaffirm, to realign, to make updates, changes, to make sure the foundation is still solid. And if we do that, then when we go forward again after retrogrades finish, it's like we have taken care of all the loose ends. When we don't do that, then things can build up and kind of come back to bite us, you could say. So take this retrograde season with Mars and the upcoming retrograde season with Mercury and really do some reflection and reviewing and realigning, and Because it's the end of the year, it's a great time to look at your goals, to wrap up 2022 as you move into 2023. And then there's solstices there. And because it's the longest or shortest day of the year, depending on which hemisphere you're in, this symbology of the solstice brings to us a reminder to look at, where are we going too far to extremes? And are we balanced? If you analyze the different parts of your life, family, relationships, work, friends, hobbies, self-care, leisure time, look at all of those things and journal or meditate, in some way, evaluate how well are you doing on balancing all of those things. And are you out of balance on any of those areas of life? And how far out of balance are you? Are you on the extreme end of overgiving or the extreme end of undergiving or underdoing? And how can you bring that into balance? I love the solstice cycle for helping us look to where we might be going to extremes. I have some essential oil recommendations for you, as always. I have quite a few, so I'm going to run through them fairly quickly, but if you'd like to read more, you can check out the blog where I write more on the oils. I recommend vetiver for grounding. It's a great essential oil for grounding, especially if you feel like you're not very grounded. And as you're working on any of the new moon intentions or just new moon energy, and you want to feel more grounded, more in your body, more feet on the ground, use vetiver. However, if you're feeling overly grounded and that you want to dive more into your creativity and inspiration, you might want to go for juniper berry. That's a good one for tapping into your insights. Frankincense is also a great oil for tapping into your spirituality and for meditation. If the Mars retrograde has left you feeling fatigued, slowed down, just tired in your body, tired in your mind, I recommend peppermint. And peppermint is also a great oil for the holiday season. So it's nice to smell peppermint in the air over the holidays. And even if you're in the southern hemisphere where it's hot and not cold like it is in the northern hemisphere, peppermint can be a cooling type of essential oil. So I think it works for either hemisphere. Sandalwood is also a great one for inspiration, and you can use sandalwood and frankincense together. They're very, very lovely together. If you are looking for more enlightenment as you're working through these different energetics, if you're working through the retrogrades and you're really wanting to learn something about what needs to be realigned, and you want to have an essential oil for that, I recommend clary sage. And I really like clary sage with lavender. Those blend really nicely together. Wild orange, I've mentioned for the last few videos as a good one for the Mars retrograde. So I'm going to just say that one more time. It can help if you're feeling exhausted, fatigued, tired. And it can also help increase productivity, which goes nicely with the Capricorn energy. And then the last one is spearmint. It just refreshes your spirit and can just be really uplifting. It's one of my favorite essential oils. I have some quotes for you. The first one is from Edith Södergran. I don't know if I'm saying that right. She's a Finnish poet from the early 1900s. And she says, "The inner fire is the most important thing mankind possesses." The next one is from Maya Angelou. And she says, "You can't use up creativity. The more you use, the more you have." I really love that. And I think it'll be very helpful to think like that as we go through this season, which can be frustrating and annoying. The retrogrades do tend to bring that kind of energy, but I prefer to work with the retrogrades and actually dig in and look at things, review things, reevaluate things, realign things. I, rewrite my current action list, to-do list. I look at my bigger projects and work on updating my ideas or fleshing out ideas that I've already started. Anything looking back is a great thing to do under a retrograde, and we have the Mars and we're coming into the Mercury. So creativity is something that we can all tap into during this new moon. And I highly recommend that you reserve some time on your calendar to do that. The last quote I have is from Andy Warhol, and he says, "They always say time changes things, but you actually have to change them yourself. So true. This is a perfect new moon to get to work on the changes that you want to make in your life. Be the change that you want to be. As we go into the Capricorn new moon, I have some ideas for you on setting your intentions for the new moon. You always want to do new moon intentions in the new moon phase. The new moon phase starts at the times that I mentioned earlier, but if you want to know for sure when the new moon phase starts in your time zone, I like timeanddate.com. That's the website I usually use, so you can check them out. Set your new moon intentions to include something that's like a practical review. You can do a practical review of a project of this year, 2022, something that you're working on at work. If you're doing a house project, maybe you're rearranging something or you're remodeling something, it's a good time to look back on whatever it is from the beginning and just see, did you miss something? Were you unsure about something? Now might be the time where you get the insight and the creativity to wrap up the ideas around that. Anything that has to do with the practical review and reflection of the year is a perfect thing to do and to set intentions around for this Capricorn new moon. It's a really good time to get organized. So if you have been wanting to organize something at home, we have all this practical earth energy and support from Neptune to Mercury and Uranus to Venus. So you can have some really great ideas for something that is productive that you need to do or that you need to organize. And as I mentioned before, the solstice has us looking at on the extreme sides of something. So look at where you may be balanced and where you may be out of balance, where you may be at the extremes. And I want to say that some people really do a good job, and I hope that's you, of keeping yourself in balance. And don't look for something out of balance if it's not there. If you are really keeping things in balance, acknowledge that, write about that, pat yourself on the back if you're keeping yourself balanced. Because it's a solstice and because I'm talking about this is a good time to look to see where you're out of balance, doesn't mean that you are. And so just be careful not to be hard on yourself. People do tend to be very hard on themselves. We all tend to have this inner critic living inside of us. So what I'm saying is, don't invent something if it's not there, but please be honest with yourself if you are out of balance. So don't ignore something that's there. Be honest, call it out so that you can work on it. And also, as you're evaluating and you're looking for a place where maybe you are out of balance and there isn't any, don't try to make it be there just because it's the time of the year to find that. I hope that makes sense. And then some activities for you to do through the new moon phase. Maybe you don't have time to do something on the actual new moon, but these are activities you can do for the couple of weeks under the new moon leading up to the next full moon. And I'll tell you when that is. The next full moon is going to be January 6th or 7th, depending on where you live. It'll be a full moon in Cancer. That's Friday or Saturday, January 6th or 7th. So these activities are things that you can do starting at the new moon and as we go into the full moon. And then I'll have a new video for you with some other activity ideas. Review your goals from last year and write a progress report. Look at the goals that you wanted to do and then write about how far you've progressed. Whatever progress you've made, focus on what you've accomplished. I wouldn't let yourself go down the road of focusing on what you didn't do, but focus on what you did do and focus on how you did that. How did you make that happen? How did you achieve that progress? That's really important. It's most important to acknowledge what you did. If there are things that didn't go as planned, you can write about them as in, what lessons did I learn? So it's still getting something out of that. Even if it didn't go as planned or you didn't get it done, you've learned something, and that's what you should focus on. So you're going to write about what you accomplished, how you accomplished that, and for anything that you didn't do, you can write about what you learned so that you can take that valuable lesson and use it moving forward. Do be proactive about looking at how balanced you are or out of balance you are over the couple of weeks. And I would recommend that you start putting your leisure time and self-care time in your calendar. If you put it on repeat, then it just shows up and it reminds you that your calendar doesn't just have to be full of things that you have to do, but things that you want to do, things that are good for you, good for your health. Then I would highly recommend that you write some goals for 2023. I understand if you do your goals at a different time of the year, then that's fine, do your review. If some other times of the year that some people like for setting goals are their birthday or at the equinox in March, because that marks the beginning of the astrological year. There's no right or wrong date. It's just, it fits very nicely to use the calendar year. And I think the majority of people do. So it would be a good time under the new moon, the first, the 2 weeks in the new moon cycle, to write your goals. Get clear on your strategy. What is it that you want to achieve? Because like I was saying, we have this very productive and strategic energy with lots of planets in Capricorn. And then we have the nice relationships between Venus and Uranus and Mercury and Neptune. So you can mix together the insight, the creativity, and the productivity all together. Let's not forget it's the holiday season, regardless of what you believe, your religion. It is a time that many people have time off work. And it is a more busy social season because there's more parties and family get-togethers. So I would say be very strategic with your social engagements. I'm not saying to not go, but I am saying to be strategic about what you do. Watch your time, because with Mars retrograde, there's still fatigue going on. And as we're moving into a Mercury retrograde, you may find that you're just trying to manage too many things. And the first thing that goes is usually your self-care and your leisure time. So you want to be careful so that you have the time to work with the retrograde cycle, the solstice cycle, the new moon cycle, and the end of the year cycle, and actually take some time for yourself, some leisure time, some self-care time, and some time to work with all of this energy that we've been talking about. Speaking of the Mars retrograde, I wanted to point out that we're more than halfway past the halfway mark of the Mars retrograde. And that means that you probably have become aware of where you may need to cut back or take some things out of your regular routine. Maybe there's some of your work that you can delegate to someone else, or maybe there's something that you've been investing time in and you want to pull back from that, so that you can focus it, reprioritize your time on something that is more important for you. Time is one of the most valuable resources that we have, and the Mars retrograde is very much about looking at how we spend our time and where we need to realign that. Some fun things that or a fun thing that I wanted to mention is that, just like I mentioned last time, that game night can be really fun because we had a lot of Sagittarian energy, and now we've shifted out of Sagittarius into Capricorn. But I was thinking about the game night thing, and that it can be a lot of fun under the Capricorn new moon if we shift away from the game night for the fun of it to a game night that is more competitive and intelligent, something that really challenges the mind. So like Trivia Pursuit, that is something that challenges your intellect. So you could do something like that, that could be really fun. And it is also a good time, since there's more socializing going on under the holidays, to make power meetings, to put together meetings with people that bring together a lot of energy that can be like a group effort. It can be like a bunch of musicians, really good musicians, who get together and then play together and create something really amazing, or a group of people who share the same hobby as you. You get together and it's not just for fun, but that you're doing something with your hobby. You're taking it a step further, or you're putting it into a more organized type of situation where maybe you just, went bike riding randomly. Somebody would call somebody and you go, but now you decide to make a group, of a cycling group, and you make it with regularly occurring meetings and things like that. But this definitely can be applied to the office. So if you've been wanting to talk about a project and even better if it's something that has been talked about before, because we're in the retrogrades, but nothing has happened yet, that you decide to get together and put something on paper, the beginning of the project, get your power meeting together, get the right people together to talk about something that's really important to you. This could be a great time to do that. I know it's the holidays, so it may not be work that can happen at work because of the time of the year, but if it can, make it happen. I mean, like at a Christmas party, you may end up talking with 4 of your colleagues and all of a sudden this amazing idea comes out of it. So that's what I mean by prioritize your social engagements. That is all I have for you today. I hope you have a fantastic holiday season. I will be back with you for the full moon after the new year. And I am currently sending out my 1-page 2023 calendar that has all of the retrogrades and the solstices, the new moon and the full moon phases on it. And it's just a quick and easy reference. So if you want to know the dates when Mercury retrograde is coming next, or Mars, which actually there's no Mars retrograde in 2023, but there is a Venus retrograde in 2023, and you might want to know when that's going to be. So the way to get that is to sign up for my email newsletter, and I will be sending the link out to that in the next few email newsletters. Just when you sign up, you'll still be able to get the link. Have a fantastic Capricorn new moon, and I will see you next time.